as you know, it is we're getting closer to that winter storm on Sunday, and we're starting to see winter storm warnings begin to get posted across the area. So we're going to recap all of that here in a second. Update you on impacts, update you on the latest snowfall totals and ice in the ice situation, which certainly could be an issue. So let's, without further ado, what we're going to do is just go ahead and take this and let's get rolling here. So let's look at, let me put myself in the corner too, so you can see me. So here's our winter weather alerts from the National Weather Service. Winter storm warnings are now up for much of the Greenville, Spartanburg county warning area, which might not mean much to you, but that will include Charlotte, that includes Asheville, that includes Greenville, that includes areas even extending west into Tennessee. Further to the southeast is an ice storm warning, and that's going to go across into the Columbia area for Sunday. And then we have winter storm watches even further south, heading into a little bit more of the Midlands here, as well as into parts of eastern North Carolina, for the potential for some wraparound snow or maybe some mixing there as time goes on. So again, we have these winter weather alerts. They're going to start to see more of these advisories and stuff come up over the next couple days, and we're going to want to keep a close eye on that. Here is the Winter Storm Severity Index, and this is, again, we talked about this last night. We talked about this previously on the show before. This is a measure of basically what are the impacts, what are the expected impacts of the storm on an area. And so you can see we're expecting significant impacts to set up generally in the mountains there. Of North Carolina in the Blue Ridge there. And that's going to cause, and again, this is where we expect maybe the greatest risk of power outages and other disruptions. Moderate impacts in much of the rest of Western North Carolina, including the Charlotte metro area, and as well as we get into Greenville, and then limited impacts further south into roughly the Midlands of South Carolina, into the coastal plain almost of North Carolina. So again, this is going to be a pretty widespread event. For a lot of people are going to see some winter weather, but increasingly, there's going to be people who are going to be kind of left out of it, which might be for the best, considering considering some of that. So let's talk about, we're going to do South Carolina first, and then we'll go up to North Carolina. So here is the expected snowfall from the Weather Service here, and you can see much of South Carolina is going to not see any snow. The snow risk is going to be generally Anderson, Greenville, Spartanburg, up into Rock Hill, and then the best risk getting into the Blue Ridge of South Carolina. And you'll be able to see the expected increase it's a very sharp gradient across the Greenville Spartanburg metro, going from maybe an inch of snow to potentially 6 to 8, not too far away. So that'll be something that we're going to want to watch very closely up in South Carolina. But for South Carolina, the big story is going to be ice. And it looks like that we are headed to a pretty decent ice storm. These totals are down a little bit from what we were seeing in yesterday's forecast. Again, there's going to be adjustments as we go. We mentioned this last night, and we're seeing those adjustments play out now. But for South Carolina, you can see areas around Rock Hill, a quarter inch or higher of frozen precipitation, of ice accretion there. Anything beyond, anything about 0.2 of an inch or more of ice is going to cause problems. And when that gets combined with some gusty winds, we could see numerous power outages. Rock Hill, Laurens, Lancaster, generally the north side of South Carolina, adjacent to Charlotte. And we're going to go into a lot of North Carolina here in a few minutes as well. Decent ice accretions also expected around Greenville and Spartanburg, mixing in with the snow at times. Greenwood, Newberry, Winsboro. You could see a non-trivial amount of ice in those areas as well. Further south, the ice accretion risk becomes less. It's going to be more of a Sunday morning thing. It's going to be a minimal glaze and then eventually melt off and turn back to just regular rain for a lot of the areas in the southern Midlands bordering the Low Country and Grand Strand area. So that's South Carolina. Now let's take a quick peek at North Carolina. our weather, or our forecast here is a little bit lower than than what was advertised yesterday. And again, that's to be expected as the model runs come in. Looks like there could be some additional mixing here, and we're going to have Scotty Powell here from our panel here joining us in just a minute to go over this a little bit more. But quickly finishing up this overview, we still expect significant snowfalls, upwards of 18 inches in parts of the mountains. Generally speaking, in most areas, 5 to 8 inches, generally around Asheville, Boone, those areas, Cherokee, maybe 8.6 inches. Getting further east, again, this is when we start getting into the mixing a little bit more, where the warm nose is really going to take effect. We see those snow totals fall off sharply. Maybe 1 to 2 inches in Charlotte, maybe 1 to 2 inches in Greensboro. Getting further into the I-95 corridor, anywhere from 1 inch to less than that. Across the eastern side of North Carolina, we could see a little bit of snowfall very close to places like Elizabeth City as well. So again, this is going to get a little close to the coast, but these are going to be more conversational the further east you go. The ice, though, again, is the story, and we have a significant ice storm setting up for the Charlotte metro area. This is going to be an area that we're going to be very, very, very concerned about getting into Sunday for power outages and other problems and other travel issues. Certainly going to be a nasty travel day across much of North Carolina on Sunday. So we're going to advise you not to do that if you can, if at all possible. I know some of you, that's unavoidable. And so what we'll do in this hour is try and help you find the optimum time for you to do these things. So we'll be talking about that here. We're going to get to your questions here in just a minute. Going back to the ice accumulation, Charlotte area, upwards of maybe 0.3 of an inch of ice. Further up towards Greensboro, non-trivial amounts. A tenth of an inch of ice is plenty to cause some issues. Getting further east into the I-95 corridor, we could have some slick roads as well, down to Rockingham and Fayetteville. It's certainly possible. Get up into Raleigh and then Rocky Mount, Roanoke Rapids, we're going to see a little bit less of the icing. And same when you go west, where the snow is going to be the primary P-type there, precipitation type there. We're going to see those ice accretion levels fall, but there still could be a glaze, especially starting the event or closing out the event around Asheville and Boone. So we're going to bring in Scotty Powell. He's our kind of co-founder guy in Morganton, North Carolina. And Scotty, we're getting closer and closer into this thing. And the forecasts are, as we expected last night, are getting more fine-tuned.
Yeah, Jared, I'm telling you, it is a lot of people's been asking me, and I said we're almost to that point now that we're to now casting. It's basically the storm is on its way, and we're just gonna have to nowcast, see how that radar lines up with where the temperature profiles are.